Welcome to VHS Voyage, where we are on a journey to find, watch, and discuss movies on VHS that we've never seen or never knew existed. I'm Matt.
I'm Devin.
And in today's episode, we're going to watch
Michael Mann's Heat.
Devin, is it just me or is it getting hot in here? You know why it's getting hot in here? Because today we're going to talk about the movie Heat. Devin hates me right now, but that's okay. Devin, before we start talking about this killer freaking flick, hit me with some facts and information about Heat.
This is written and directed by Michael Mann. We've already covered a movie. We covered Manhunter, so I'm not going to go over everything he's done again. IMDb, a lot of 650,000 reviews on this movie.
Ooh. So this is easily the most popular movie we've done so far.
Yeah.
Okay, IMDb, I'm going to go with a 9 out of 10.
It's lower than that. I think only a couple movies have a 9 on IMDb.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point. 8.4.
8.3, which is still extremely high. At one time, it was in the top 100 IMDb movies, but some movies have came out in the last recent years that have overtook it, and I've seen some movies on that list, and it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, some of those movies are, for sure.
So, Rotten Tomatoes, critic and audience.
Okay, Rotten Tomatoes critic, I'm going to say 90%.
88.
88, okay.
So,
user, I'm going to go also 90.
94.
94.
That's a high one. That's a high audience score.
That's a really high one.
So there's so many actors in this. I'm not gonna say what movies they're in, but I'm just gonna read off this cast list.
Okay.
Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, Jon Voight, Tom Sizemore, Ashley Judd, Wes Studi, Dennis Haysbert, Hank Azaria, Natalie Portman, Danny Trejo, Jeremy Piven's in it for like 3 seconds, and just tons more. Just so many more. I could have just kept going, but I'm gonna stop there. It's loaded.
So what you're telling me is this is a really stacked cast.
Yeah, so, when a director enters a certain category of how good they are, actors will be attracted to them. So Michael Mann, by this point, had entered a layer of his career where actors were like, I want to work with this dude.
Exactly.
So, with some facts here, this was the first time De Niro and Pacino shared the screen together. They did do a movie together. They did Godfather 2 together, but they were never on screen together because De Niro, of course, is only in flashbacks in that movie.
Right.
So they never shared the screen together. So this was the first time they ever shared the screen together.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, two iconic actors. They did 2 more movies after this. They did Righteous Kill and The Irishman. Did a little calculator. This cost $60 million to make when it came out, which was a lot. And if you calculate that now, it's a $116 million movie.
Oh wow!
So this is a big budget movie. It cost a lot of money to make this movie.
Did it do well in the box office?
It made. Again, over time, it's gotten more popular, but at the time, it only made about $10 million more than its budget.
I wonder if it's because of its length.
Maybe, and it was also, at the same time, it came out the same weekend as Jumanji, and Toy Story had came out like 2 weeks before and was taking over the world.
Wow, yeah,
So they had some competition at that time. Keanu Reeves is who Michael Mann originally wanted for Val Kilmer's part, but he turned it down, so that could have been Keanu Reeves instead of Val Kilmer.
I could see that.
Yeah. This does not have a movie sequel, but just this year, Michael Mann wrote a book that is a sequel to this.
Really?
It is called Heat 2. It is a prequel and a sequel, and the sequel part of the book is our detective, played by Al Pacino, going after Val Kilmer's character, and the prequel is about a job that the villains did earlier on before California. That's about it for facts. Not really a lot of crazy facts I found about this. Al Pacino did a lot of improvisation in this movie, which he does in a lot of movies. And I know exactly what line it was. It was definitely the ass line.
Oh, yeah,
he's like, she's got a great ass. That was 100% improv. I know that is 100% an Al Pacino line.
Yeah.
Why'd I get mixed up with that bitch?
Because she got a great ass!
First off, I do want to point out, this is a little bit different of an episode. Just like with The Bear, where The Bear was a movie I've seen that Devin hasn't seen, Heat is a movie that Devin's seen that I haven't seen. So a little bit of a swap there. We're going to do that from time to time. I'm going to try to briefly explain the story of this movie. It's a very layered story. It's a very complex and nuanced story. But at its core, the story follows 2 different sides of a coin. It follows a group of criminals who are experts at pulling off heists. And then it follows Al Pacino's character, who is a lieutenant detective in his effort to try to catch these criminals. So you've got this group of criminals led by Robert De Niro's characters, and I can't remember any of the characters' actual names.
Yeah.
I don't think they're said a lot in the movie, are they?
Yeah, I can't remember any characters' names. But the thing is, these actors are so iconic. You just know them as who they are.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, there's Robert De Niro and there's Al Pacino. So
Exactly. So I'm just going to refer to them by their actual real names. So Robert De Niro leads this group of heist members, which consists of Val Kilmer. Help me out here.
Tom Sizemore,
Danny Trejo. That's pretty much it. Jon Voight is not part of their crew, but he is kind of, he's their side man. That
he's like a higher up in the world that they're living in.
Yeah. So they hire a new member of the team, and they go off on a heist of a money truck to get some bearer bonds. It goes wrong because this new member has a little bit of a happy trigger finger, and he ends up killing one of the guards, so they end up having to kill the rest of the guards. Robert De Niro's not happy with how the heist goes. He wants to kill the new member that kind of screwed things up, but something happens to interrupt before he can kill him. New member gets away. So they decide to plan another heist, a little bit more involved, a lot more money at stake. And then that's when Al Pacino's character kind of gets wind of them and what they're doing because of the heist gone wrong with the money truck. So now he's obsessed with catching them. And that's basically the story of the movie. I mean, obviously there's a lot more to it than that, but at its core, it's just a movie that follows a group of criminals as they try to pull off heists and avoid the law. And then it also follows Al Pacino as he tries to catch these criminals. Anything you want to add to that?
No, it's perfect. It's cops and robbers, basically.
Cops and robbers. That's
basically what it is.
Pretty much it. But one thing that I really love about Heat, number one, I like it when a movie shows the human side of our criminals.
I have that in my notes as well, yep.
Because that's realistic. Because, I mean, just because somebody is a criminal doesn't mean that they're not human. You know what I mean? So this movie really shows the human side of these criminals. It shows some of the stuff they deal with in their personal lives, how their crime impacts their family and those in their lives. And it kind of makes you empathize with them a little bit, even though they're really not great people. They're murderers, and so they're not great people. But you can't help but kind of relate to them some and empathize with them some. And in the same with Al Pacino's character, you really see the human side of him. And another big theme of this movie is how not only how being a criminal can impact the people around you in your personal life, but also being a police officer, detective, lieutenant, whatever, how bad that can impact your family life and relationships as well. Another thing I really like is Al Pacino and Robert De Niro's characters are basically polar opposites of each other. Yep. They are almost the same. They're almost the same character.
Yep.
But one is on the good side of the law, one's on the bad side of the law, but they have this understanding of each other. They have this respect of each other because they both are obsessed with what they do. They don't know how to do anything else. They won't do anything else. It is what defines them.
I was gonna say pretty much the same thing, that like you have the massive spectacle of the heist and the big action parts, but I like more the small drama in the movie of how these massive things affect small things in their lives, like relationships with their wives and their kids and their friends, and how it impacts them. And like you said, it does it on both sides almost exactly the same. And you said you do feel for the bad guys, and I think that's what makes a great bad guy, is if they're bordering on good and evil. Pure evil bad guy is just whatever.
Yeah, right.
I love when a villain is bordering and on that line of they could go either way. So yeah, that's really good. And the scene that really did it for me was early in the movie when Robert De Niro is at dinner with all of his friends, and they're all married and they're laughing and they're having fun. And you can like feel his anxiety rising, and you can actually see how lonely he is. And he has to like step out of this place, of this restaurant. He's like this big tough criminal, but you get to see this really human side of him, that he is also still really lonely and sad. And that's like really early in the movie, like 20-30 minutes in, and at that moment is when you really know, like, okay, this is going into a more personal level of the characters and not just their evil ways.
So speaking of the heists, I really like the level of detail that the movie goes into with these heists to really show, all the careful planning that clearly went into these things and all the small steps they have to take. And like even with the money truck at the beginning, the one touch that I really like is they threw out that spike strip because they knew that the police were going to come from that direction.
Yep.
And they knew if they put that spike strip out, that would slow down several of the cop cars and help them in their getaway. Those little details I really appreciated.
Yeah, I actually read that they hired, I cannot remember what it was, but they hired somebody that's like a genius in combat and military and all this other stuff, and a genius on these heist things, and they actually hired him to overview everything they did on the movie so that they were doing it exactly how it would actually happen. So
you know what? That makes sense, especially when we're talking about that epic, insane shootout.
that is one of the best things ever.
Dude, that has to be one of the most insane shootouts I've seen in a movie
It's so
ever.
good. It's so good.
Ever. I want to see the behind the scenes of how they made that. If that's out there somewhere, I got to try to track that down because it's incredible.
So this movie, if you've ever played Grand Theft Auto 5, this movie, so basically Grand Theft Auto 5, it's about heists. Right. That's the whole thing's about robbing banks. And you actually wear the same mask that they wear in Grand Theft Auto 5 in this movie.
Oh,
I think Grand Theft Auto 5 took a lot of inspiration from this movie because there's so many of the heists that go into extreme detail. So if you like the heist in Grand Theft Auto 5, watch this movie, seriously. That shootout is so epic.
Yes, the shootout is not only is it epic, but it's very realistic. They're reloading. They don't have infinite ammo. You see them reloading their guns.
Yeah.
They're a lot of their shots are missing.
Yes.
It's very chaotic. People running around everywhere screaming, and it goes on for a while. It is a
10 minutes.
long sequence, very long, very intense sequence. Yeah, if you're looking for one of the most impressive shootouts that you're probably ever going to see in a movie, Heat. And here's what's crazy about it. It's not even the climax of the movie.
It's like halfway into the movie.
And when you get to that point, you might be thinking, okay, here we are, we're getting to the climax. But no, there's a lot more to go after that. You really get to see, I know we touched on earlier how you get to see how these things impact their families, but you really get to see that with Al Pacino's character.
Yes.
His obsession with his job and how much of his time it takes up just destroys his relationship. And I know in the movie he mentioned that was like his third marriage.
Yeah, and he's like the best at what he does, basically.
Yeah.
So he's pretty much never home, and it impacts everything in his life, basically.
Yeah, and that's another thing. You saying he's one of the best at what he does. They really showcase that well in the movie because he's just like, when he gets to a crime scene, he's just like bam, bam, bam. He's like, do this, do that, look up this, look up that, go track this, to go do that. He's just instantly just throwing out the plan just right off the top of his head as he's examining everything.
Yeah, and we there's a part where Jon Voight's character where they find out this is the detective on the case, and Jon Voight's like, I don't think you should mess with this guy. Like, even Jon Voight, this big bad criminal boss, is like, I don't think you should take this job. But Robert De Niro is like, nah, I'm taking this job because I think I'm better than him. And all this stuff. So they even show the mob bosses are kind of scared of Al Pacino's character too.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie, and I'm curious what your favorite scene in the movie is, but one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when Robert De Niro and Al Pacino's characters sit down to have coffee together.
That was I literally put in my notes, favorite scene, the diner scene.
Yes.
That is my favorite scene of the movie by far.
So good.
So good.
You do what you do, I do what I gotta do. And now that we've been face to face, if I'm there and I gotta put you away, I won't like it.
The dialogue and just, man, it was so good.
Yeah, and just my personal opinion, these are the two best living actors, and you're getting to watch them in a scene together.
Yeah.
You're literally getting to watch arguably the two greatest actors of all time deliver a scene together for their first time ever, too, that they had a scene together. And it was just so impactful and so good. It's the best scene in the movie. You really feel for the characters, and you really get to see a side of them that you didn't get to see before in the movie. It's so good. So good.
That's also the moment whenever they realize that they're not that different from each other, and they sort of they instantly get this respect for one another.
Yeah.
And they realize that they are pretty much the same person, just on opposite sides of the fence. What about the cinematography?
It's great.
Yep.
I always think LA makes for great movies.
Oh, yeah.
At least movies. I don't want to go there in person. Sorry.
No.
But for great movies, it's always just like the best backdrop in my opinion. It's the city lights. It's beautiful. I mean, We saw in Manhunter 2, Michael Mann just has great cinematography.
Oh yeah.
And you blend that with his killer scores.
Yes.
Always. He has such good scores. His songs are always perfect. And it blends genres too, because there's like the part where Pacino's like flying down the highway and it's like rock music. It's so good.
That was
the music
awesome.
in this is so good.
All right, so let's go ahead and get to our closing thoughts on Heat. And since I've never seen the movie, I'll go ahead and start with my closing thoughts. I think this might be one of the greatest movies ever made.
It is one of the best movies ever made. 100%.
Yeah, it is phenomenal from start to finish. I was captivated the entire time, even with its 2 hour and 45 minute runtime. It has a just epic cast. It has so many epic moments in the movie. The writing is phenomenal. The dialogue is phenomenal. The acting is masterful. Everything about this movie is what filmmaking is all about. It's like somebody that's at the top of their game that knows how to put together a fantastic movie and really direct a fantastic movie. And I can't wait to watch more of Michael Mann's movies, man, because this is only the third one I've seen now, because I've seen Manhunter and I've seen Collateral, but it's been a long time since I watched Collateral, so I need to revisit that one. And now Heat. So I think we need to track down a VHS copy of Thief and do an episode on Thief.
Thief is amazing.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So of all the movies we've watched so far here on VHS Voyage, Thief is right up there with some of my favorites. This is number 12.
Yep.
So this is number 12. So Thief for me is up there along with Tu Wong Fu.
It's called Heat.
What am I saying?
It's called Heat.
What am I saying?
Thief. Sorry, it's called Heat.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks. I think I might have had a stroke there. Heat is up there with some of my favorite movies that we've watched so far on VHS Voyage. Right up there with Tu Wong Fu and Bingo. Yeah, Bingo. That's right. It's right up there with Bingo. What are your thoughts, your kind of final thoughts?
Everything you just said, it's just powerhouse acting with incredible action sequences, and you mix that all together with a freaking goated director, and it comes together to be one of the best films ever made, honestly.
Yes. So, if you have not seen Heat, do yourself a favor. I don't care what you watch it on, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. Where can they find it streaming?
You can rent it. It's on Stars, even though we filmed this like 3 months before this episode came out, so it might not be there anymore.
That's true.
Yeah, but you can get this anywhere. It's not going to be hard to find.
That is it for today's episode of VHS Voyage on...
Heat.
I'm Matt.
I'm Devin.
And we'll catch you all in the next episode.